So hopefully I didn't confuse you. I didn't have that part explained to me in that way when I first started, and I was really confused. I don't know. I have a weird, difficult brain for learning, and I need to know exactly what's going on, like what's the big picture before I start anything. So hopefully I didn't confuse you, but this we will use for two separate things. I don't want to like drag this out too much, but I hope that I'm explaining it well, because I'm not great at teaching, which isn't that great. I'm a homeschool mom. Anyways, so we'll use this for two things. One to feed for tomorrow, to use as the starter for tomorrow, and one to feed and use as bread that we will start making today. Okay, so let me just show you what it looks like when it's happy. And like I said, I feel like even just from the last video, just from a couple minutes ago, I feel like it even dropped even more. But it should. I didn't want to stir it first before the video, but it should have big pockets of bubbles in there, and that would show that it's pretty darn happy starter. When it's really hungry and it's not so happy anymore, it'll be thin, watery, and have little bubbles in it. So let's see. Yeah, this starter is not the happiest I've seen, but it is pretty happy. For a couple of days, see how after you stir it a little bit, it'll start to bubble back up again. This starter is pretty happy. I haven't seen it to where it was just like uber happy, where it had these big air pockets in there. And this is still happy. It's just a little hungry, because I went to the store after church instead of coming back and doing this on time. But you can see after I stir it, it even starts making the bubbles again. You see that? So this is pretty happy starter. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you, or attach or whatever, I don't know, I don't want to attempt the template that I go off of for making sourdough, and I actually keep it as the wallpaper on my phone, because I need to reference it so much. I'm not good at remembering, so I need to reference it so often that I just keep it straight up as the wallpaper on my phone, so I don't have to keep going for anything. But I do remember that every day for the starter that I'm going to use for tomorrow, I do 75 grams of starter, 150 grams of unbleached organic flour, and 150 grams of filtered water. We do measure in grams and not in cups and things. I don't exactly know why, other than it's just a more exact. I don't know the reasons for all the things sourdough related. I just do what I know works, and I did it this way and it works. So I'm going to so this is just a regular scale, the cheapest one I could find on Amazon, and I'm just going to measure out 75 grams of starter. Okay. Oops. Problem is that I spilled it on the scale, and so now it's going to measure this as if it's in the cup, and it's not. Okay. This should be just about right. Yeah, 77. And that's okay if it's a little off. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, pause. Okay, now I have some filtered water from my Berkey, and I used to heat this up because I used to think that if I babied the starter a lot, then it would work even better. But then a couple of times when I was busy, I didn't warm it up, and it doesn't matter at all. So we're gonna zero out the scale, always zero it out, and then I'm gonna do 150 grams of water, and like I said, I will send you the template that all these numbers are on as well. All right, 150. Okay, perfect. And then at this point, I do mix it up. You do have to mix up the water into the starter before you add the flour. Some people don't, and well, I haven't seen people not do this part, but I have seen people just add the salt right here to this part, and they say it doesn't matter. So if you want to, go ahead. I just remember with my yeast bread that the yeast itself doesn't like salt directly going on it, so I used to mix the yeast. I used to mix the salt into the flour before I put it into my yeast bread. So it's just a habit of mine to mix the salt into the flour before I do anything. But I've seen other people just dump the salt right in there with the starter, and they say it doesn't matter. So if you want to do that, go ahead, and I might actually experiment with that another time because it'll save me another step, and every 2 minutes in my life counts. So all right, so I'm gonna zero this out again. And this is a fun little thing that I have found works. I like this little sifter tool. I use it for a few different steps in here as a scooper, just because, like I said, I use it for a few different steps. So we're going 150 grams of flour as well. Almost there. And this is, like I said, the starter that we're feeding, covering, and leaving overnight to just ferment and letting that good bacteria eat up all of this gluten. Okay, so that is good enough. No salt goes into this. This is just us making more starter for tomorrow. And so this is gonna be like thicker than you would think, but for some reason, like I said, I don't know all the chemistry reasons for sourdough, but for some reason, you can see I haven't mixed it up perfectly yet, but you can see this is going to be kind of pretty thick when we cover it and leave it for 24 hours. But for some reason, it gets more like this consistency, and then the longer you leave it, the more liquidy it gets. Here it is all mixed up, and I just made sure that I took my rubber scraper that I mixed it up with to scrape down the sides, just so I didn't waste starter and flour of it drying up all around the edges for no reason at all. And this is a sourdough, like part of a sourdough starter kit that my sister got me for Christmas. You do not need this. This is just a fancy happy thing that is unnecessary. A lot of the time I just make my starter in something like this, and I cover it with a towel or something like this. The sourdough does not care if it's fancy or ugly or whatever. So this little guy will just stay over there, and that's it. That's just gonna stay there for 24 hours. So now I have the rest of my starter. Hold on one second. Okay, I have the rest of my starter, and I'm going to take actually all of this, every bit that I can, and make it into tortillas and bread and maybe crackers, because we're going to a hotel tomorrow and I don't want to buy bread and tortillas and crackers. So I'm just going to basically weigh this out. I'm going to start a new video actually so that I can upload this with no problems.